Hi everyone, my name is Rachel. I am the Youth Services Programming Specialist with the Western Allegheny Community Library. And today I'm going to be presenting a program to you called Teen Test Kitchen. This program was thought up and developed by a former programmer here with the library, but it's been very well received. So it was something that we as a library wanted to continue to offer to our teens. So what I'm going to do today is I am going to give you some of the details, a bit of a breakdown about the program, a little bit more of the nitty gritty. And then I am going to actually model for you two of the recipes that we recently did for the summer. You'll notice right now that I have two different screen views. I have the one that says Western Allegheny Community Library, and this I will use as a talking point for you today. I also have a second view over here where my hand is called the table view, and this allows teens to be able to see exactly what is being worked on from a different angle, and I will explain more about that in a moment. So specifically, this program is for teens in grades 6 through 12. It can be done virtually or in person. Right now, we are modeling a virtual example of this program done through Zoom. When we plan these programs, we think specifically about what is going to be easily accessible to buy for these students, what kind of ingredients, what kind of recipes they might actually be interested in learning how to make, and just what is going to be overall a smooth running program. So we do all of our planning with all the materials and keeping our costs in mind. And then what I do once we have everything planned out, about a week prior to the program, I email all of our participants a list of the ingredients and the materials that they're going to need to complete the program. We do anywhere from 2 to 3 different recipes in the 1 hour setting for the program. Something else to keep in mind, even if you do all of your planning ahead of time, it is still probably good about a week out to practice those recipes, practice talking through all of them, making sure that you know all of your materials, making sure that you know exactly what is going to work for the program. And maybe you've actually found an easier way to make something work. Something else to consider, you need to practice your different camera angles. And sometimes you do have to get a little bit creative. My own kitchen at home is fairly small, so sometimes it's, trying to work around corners, or it's trying to set things up, stack books up. Right now, I have actually a little table on top of a table, so you have one angle. I also have the table view over here that is being held up by a tripod, and that is an iPad that is the view from. Sometimes if I have a third angle, which I often do over the stovetop, I might do with a little tripod and my phone. But again, it all just depends on what's going to work in your particular setting. The program length, as we said before, is about an hour. I let students on right at the exact time we said. Sometimes it runs the full hour, sometimes it runs a little bit shorter. It all just depends on if teens are willing to ask questions, if they want to share anything that they've made so far. Regarding asking questions, oftentimes they like to leave me messages in the chat, so you have to also make sure that you're paying attention to that as well. Sometimes just stopping to ask if anyone has questions is good, because it allows students sometimes the chance just to stop and think, oh, okay, do I need something clarified? Okay. Budget, I try to keep, as far as if I was buying ingredients just for myself, under $25 for 2 to 3 recipes, if I can make that happen. And so sometimes that does mean having to buy the knockoff brands of things or the generic versions, just so I can still get across the point that cooking doesn't have to be really an expensive endeavor, but it's something that can be, again, accessible to people of all income levels. different community partners that you could consider. This summer, we are going to be having a partnership with a local sweet shop, and they're going to be coming in to show kids how to make their own chocolates and candies. So this is more of a special one-off program because typically we do it virtually through Zoom, but they're going to come in person for that. You can always consider partnering with local grocery stores to provide ingredients, also maybe local restaurants. Maybe you want to bring in a special guest chef and make something a little fancier, especially if they're willing to sponsor that. We're always for that here at our library. Evaluating this program, we know this program is going over well. We've had a lot of verbal communication with patrons, with the teens. We've had email communication, and just knowing that we have the repeat attendees allows us to know that this program is working, and it's working specifically for our community. Different skills that are addressed with this program. Obviously, the teens are learning cooking skills. They're learning some independence to work in the kitchen on their own, and just how do they follow directions verbally, and if we're ever giving them written instructions. So this program is definitely inclusive. This program meets students where they are in their homes and allows anyone to be included and be comfortable from their home environment. This program is definitely equitable because we help to provide anyone with the ingredients if needed. So far, we haven't had to do much of that, just here or there, but that is something to consider. And regarding belonging, having these repeat programs has allowed us to create a community that, just fosters the love of cooking, and, creating that sense of community is important. If you ever wanted to adapt this type of program for outreach, what I would consider doing is either no-bake type recipes, something that didn't involve the stove or microwave. Maybe you're just more of combining ingredients. Maybe you're doing something like a special kind of drink, or maybe you're cutting ingredients up to make a salad. Those kind of things might be considered pretty decent for outreach. Another idea could be to do a mug type based program, like a mug meal. So everyone gets their mug, and maybe they get to make a little cake inside their mug and then put it in the microwave. So lots of different ideas. This program definitely works well virtually. It's, just more possibilities, but again, it can be adapted to fit wherever your library is at this time. Okay, so at this point now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through two different recipes. One is going to be a drink, and one is going to be a snack that we recently did for, it was Teen Test Kitchen Summer Snacks. So just as a heads up, these are both very sweet, sugary snacks, but we wanted to do something fun for the summertime. But you can always add, a healthy element to this type of program. Okay, so for the first one, again, I'm going to talk to you from here, and then you're also going to see me work over here at the table view. Okay, we're going to be making a version of a Shirley Temple. And so this recipe that we are using is from the Frugal Girls. So something I found online, so we thank them for their recipe. So this is just an approximation on their recipe. And sometimes I change things up a little bit, but just depends. All right, so I also, as a note, I do like to keep my recipes close to me, so I have them to refer to. So for this recipe today, what you're going to need is you're going to need some Sprite or some sort of like lemon lime type beverage. You could use a knockoff version. You're going to need some orange juice. This is grenadine syrup, and it's going to add a very sweet element to this drink. And we also have some maraschino cherries. I have a glass, or just as long as you have a clear jar so you can see the really pretty effect that we have going on here. I also have a liquid measuring cup, and I have a tablespoon measurement. So we're going to begin by, first step is pouring in the orange juice. So this recipe calls for 1/3 of a cup of orange juice. So I'm going to carefully open up my orange juice. And I'm going to show you on my measuring cup where 1/3 is. So 1/3 is right about there, the 1 and the 3, 1/3. So I'm going to pour it in to measure it out approximately. So I want to go right until the orange juice hits that line, just about 1/3. I'm going to next pour that orange juice into my clear glass. The next thing I'm going to add is my Sprite. Now we need 1 full cup of that, so that's going to be a lot more than my 1/3. So my 1 cup is all the way up here. Now the Sprite's a little bit fizzy, so you want to let that fizz die down and see if you're at 1 cup approximately. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pour the Sprite right over the orange juice. Okay. I'm also going to make sure I put my cap on everything so I don't accidentally spill. All right, so far, yours should look something like this. It should look like watered down orange juice, which is essentially what it is right now, but watered down with Sprite. The next thing that you're going to add is that grenadine syrup. Now this grenadine syrup is pretty strong. You don't want to add too much more than what the recipe calls for, unless you like things very, very sweet. I'm going to take my tablespoon measurement. So mine specifically says the word tablespoon on it, but the other thing yours might say is TBSP, which stands for tablespoon. So carefully over the mouth of my jar here, I'm going to add 1 and then 2 tablespoons of the grenadine syrup. All right, very carefully going to add 1. And you'll see the color has already started to change, and that grenadine is heavier than everything else, so it begins to sink. And now I'm going to add my second. Okay. And there we have that. So this is what yours should look like so far. You'll see the different layers. You'll see the light at the top. So you get a little darker towards the bottom. So that first drink, you're probably going to have just mostly that orange juice and Sprite. And as you get more towards the bottom, it's going to get that grenadine kind of syrupy flavor to it with a little bit of fruit in there. So right now it looks really pretty as is with the different layers. If you wanted to, you could absolutely stir everything together at this point. But to give it this effect, I'm going to leave it just like that. If you would like to, for a little bit of extra fun, you can add a maraschino cherry into your drink. Additionally, this recipe calls for using ice. I don't particularly like to use a lot of ice, so I'm just going to put this in here, and this is probably going to sink to the bottom, and it did. All right. So take a moment, go ahead and try your Shirley Temple, see how you like it. So I like mine the way that it is. It's nice, it's refreshing, something a little bit different. If you did not have grenadine syrup at home, so if you didn't have this stuff, you can use maraschino cherry juice in the replacement of the grenadine syrup. So it might take about the whole bottle's worth of this, or you could just add a little bit of it in there to kind of substitute for that grenadine syrup. So there is our first recipe, the Shirley Temple. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do our snack. We are going to be making something called a graham cracker goodie. And this recipe comes specifically from the Country Cook. So again, we're very thankful for this recipe. This one is pretty easy and can be done by most anyone. So I'm going to move a few of my ingredients out of the way and get ready for the next recipe. All right, so for this next recipe, very simple, just 4 ingredients. You are going to need some graham crackers, some Cool Whip or some type of whipped topping, instant pudding mix. It can be any flavor that you'd like it to be. I have vanilla here. And then you're also going to need some sprinkles. And then we're going to be doing some mixing in here. So I do have a few spoons and a spatula. I'm going to put our creations on a baking tray. And then we'll go ahead and get started. So first, what you're going to do is you're going to take your graham crackers. You're going to carefully open up your pouches and pull out 1 graham cracker. Now, if you look very closely at the graham cracker, you'll see the perforation marks for 4 different pieces of graham cracker. What we want to do is we just want to break it in half so we get 2 pieces. These are going to be the outer portion of your graham cracker goodie. All right, so you should have 2 pieces that look like that. We want to get 30 of these pieces. So you'll have to work for a little bit to get all of those open. You're probably going to need at least 1 or more sleeves, depending on how big a sleeve of your graham crackers is. So go ahead and work on that for a minute, and then we'll meet back. So after my first sleeve, I have 18. So I'm going to have to open up another package. So I have a little extra. I gave myself 32 just to make sure that I would have enough to work with. Another thing that I should mention before I go any further is I did wash my hands prior to starting this program. So something that I always reiterate with the teens is to make sure that you try to pull your hair back, that you try to wash your hands and keep everything as clean as possible in the kitchen. So we have at least 30 graham cracker halves ready to go. The next thing that we're going to get is we are going to take our bowl, large mixing bowl, and we are going to take our whipped topping. Now this recipe calls for 8 ounces of whipped topping, but I have a big container here. I have 16 ounces, so I'm only going to use half of this. If you have one that is 8 ounces, you're going to use all of it. Now I let mine thaw out a little bit, but even if yours is still partially frozen, that's not a problem at all. You'll just have to work at mixing yours up a little bit more. So you'll see I'm adding half of this container directly into my bowl. Okay. And then I'm just going to set the rest aside. Okay, so you can see over here on my table view, all of that added here. The next thing that you're going to add into this bowl is you are going to add your pudding mix. So it's important that you get instant pudding mix because we don't want to have any cook and serve, because this is not going to be cooked at all. It's just going to be added directly and mixed in with the Cool Whip. So carefully tear your package open right over top and dump the entire 3.4 ounce package in with the Cool Whip. Set any garbage aside. Okay. Then I'm going to take my spatula, and in my bowl, I'm just going to carefully mix. I want to just start incorporating all of that mix into here, all of that pudding mix. And it might be helpful to hold the bowl to give you a little bit more leverage. And now mine is starting to turn a bit of a yellow color because I have a vanilla mix in here. If you chose chocolate though, yours is probably going to start looking a little brown. If you had strawberry, it's going to turn and look a little pink. So just make note of that yours might look a little bit different than mine. Okay, so I'm just continuing to stir. So you can see from here and see here as well. That's so far kind of what you want it to look like. You want to try to get any clumps out that you can. Okay. I'm looking at mine and I can see that mine's pretty well incorporated. Again, I'll give you another look at that. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take either a plate or a bowl. I have a bowl with me today. And I'm going to put some sprinkles in there. Now you could really use any kind of topping that you like. Maybe you like shredded coconut. Maybe you like some kind of nut. Maybe you like chocolate chips. Maybe you like something completely different. But this recipe in particular did call for sprinkles, so that's what we're going to be using today. So I'm just going to pour a bunch of these into my bowl here. And I might need to end up adding more. We'll just see what happens with the recipe today. So I'm going to kind of move everything to the side, kind of get my tray set up, ready to go. All right, I have my bowl of sprinkles here, graham crackers ready to go. And then over to the side, I have the mixture that's going to go inside of these. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a spoon and I'm going to take one of my graham cracker pieces. Okay, I'm going to spoon some out. So there's mine. Mine's a bit of a heaping spoon, and just put it right onto here. And then I'm with the back of my spoon, I'm going to spread everything out. And if you put too much on, you can always take some off. And it might get a little messy at this point, but that's okay. That's part of the fun of cooking. After you've spread it around best you can, take another one, another graham cracker, sandwich it. Okay, so you have something that looks like this. Some of the sides are even coming out a little bit, and that's okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these and I'm going to dip the edges, all of the edges, right into the sprinkles. All right, just pushing down a little bit. Trying to get a nice coating best I can. All right, so your graham cracker goodie is going to look something like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start laying these on the tray. And I'm going to keep working this, and I'm going to do this for a few times just to show you, again, what you're going to keep doing here. So again, take that spoon. Okay. Go ahead and work that around a bit. Take another graham cracker, put that on top. And then we're going to dip that all of the angles in. And again, it's going to look something like this. Okay, I'm going to lay this on here. Let's do one more together just to make sure we've got the idea. Take a scoop, take your graham cracker, spread it out. Take another graham cracker, sandwich it on top. And then I'm going to take all the edges again and just dip them around. Remember, try not to squeeze the two graham crackers together, or else all of that filling is going to spread out. So now that I've made 3, I'm going to continue working until all of these are made and I've used up all my entire bowl. If you need to get a few more graham crackers for yourself, you can do that. Then as soon as you get all of these made, what you're going to do is you're going to put these into the freezer for at least an hour or 2. They need a little bit of time to firm up again, and then they're going to taste a bit like an ice cream sandwich. So these are really fun. They work well if you ever need to take something to a picnic. They will get a little bit melty, but they're going to hold a lot better than something like an ice cream sandwich. And these are pretty easy. And depending on the ice cream, could even possibly be like slightly healthier for you. Okay, so that is what I have for you today for Teen Test Kitchen. I'm really excited to share this program with all of you. Kids have been really excited to do this program. I did not have any participants on with me today, but thank you for seeing and supporting this program. So thank you so much and have a good day.